Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here too. Join me as always, Xavier Guerrero and Jay Nice, Juicy Johnny.
Hey.
Johnny Woodard live at the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver Studio. That's right. Go to SamTripoli.gold. Use the promo code Tinfoil, and you can get, for as little as $50 a month, you can join the Wolfpack program and get pressed metals sent to your house for as little as $50 a month. Guys, we have a great show for you, but real quick, go to SamTripoli.com, go to events. Got Skankfest coming up in like a week and a half. That's 27th, 29th through the 29th. Louisville, Kentucky, the 10th through the 12th of October. Very excited to be at the Murder Circus. Then Tampa Bay, Florida. Then Cancun, Mexico. Very excited for this episode. This is probably XG's best episode so far. I mean, knocks it out of the park. You guys are going to love how precise he is. Okay? Real G's move in silence, and you're going to realize that today. Finally, I just want to say something real quick about today's guest, Todd Cave, great researcher. He gets into religion, and as you guys know, Johnny, myself, Christians, Xavier's a Catholic. I have my Christian beliefs. Todd has his beliefs, and he's going to get into it. So it's towards the end of the show. I just want to say that because I understand as Christians, we take a big beating in pop culture, and we got to let everybody talk on the show. We can't just listen to people we agree with. This show's about hearing from everybody. So I hope you listen, and I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. He is a former civil engineer who's turned into an online fitness trainer. We're very excited to talk to him. He's told us what he wants to talk about, and all I got to say is these are a few of my favorite things. Very excited to have him here. Welcome to the first time of hopefully many times. Please welcome Todd Cave. How are you, Todd?
I'm doing very well, Sam. And yourself?
We're blessed. Happy to be here. Life is good. Todd, for those who may not be familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Sure. So my name is Todd Cave, and I was born in Barbados, and I spent half of my life there. And after that, I went to the UK to study civil engineering, and I spent the other half of my life there. And after I finished university, I was a civil and tunnel engineer for many years. And while I was there, then, I started to, travel, learn the world and learn life and stuff. And about 7.5 years ago, my life completely changed, where I had life-changing surgery on my foot. And that surgery caused a series of dominoes to fall in my life. So basically, I ended up being made redundant at the same time. I got fat and depressed. I ended up losing a lot of money and stuff, and investing in businesses that didn't work. Then, one thing led to the next, and my foot wasn't healing properly. I was on crutches for 15 months. I got really, really overweight. And then something happened to me where I was bending over to tie my shoes once, and basically I got short of breath. I couldn't breathe. And that basically started the process of my comeback, as they would call it, where I started to get back into shape, because I was always a fit lad prior to my surgery. But after I was on crutches for 15 months, I kind of let myself go, which is the only way I could say it. And basically, what happened is that I started to research more on fitness and diet and how to train because I couldn't do a lot of things that I used to do on my foot, like jumping and impact sports and stuff. So I had to change my entire way of training, and I started to research how to nutrition. Basically how food works,
Yes.
how the body responds, training, how to train. And then through that process, I was trying to basically fight depression because I get gained 12 kilos. I was very sad. And
That's a lot of cocaine.
Pardon?
We're Americans. We don't do kilos. We only understand that in terms of measurements of cocaine.
So 12 kilos is about 25, 26 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah, so I gained all of that. And then one of my mates, he gave me 2 books to read because I was going through a lot of stuff in my life. One of the books was called The Road Less Traveled, and the next book was called The 5 Love Languages. And those 2 books opened up the world for, I would say, reading, because I was never really a big reader. My sister was always the one that would be with books, and I was the one that always liked playing and sports and stuff. But because I was stuck in my bedroom and in my flat, basically on crutches for all that time, there was nothing else to do. So I turned to reading as a way of escapism. And the first book after I read those books was called The Lost Book of Enki by Zachariah Sitchin. And that book basically started the process and the path that I walk today of researching our ancient hidden history, spirituality, consciousness, religion, understanding the dynamics of how things like government work, extraterrestrials, and the entire matrix, really. So I started to read the Talmud, the Quran, the Bible, the Nag Hammadi texts. So I delved really, really far and deep into this chunk of information. Basically, 1, trying to keep myself from going depressed. 2, it was just very interesting to me because I was very shocked on the information that I found, and I thought it was all rubbish, to be honest with you. And because I was very skeptical of it, I just kept reading, and after about 10 books, I kind of was like, okay, so this seems to be what it is. And I just developed a hunger for this information, and just kept reading more and more and more, and to the point now where like I do about 2 books a month, trying to learn more about these said topics.
2 books a month? Like how many pages we talking?
What I do is I do audiobooks. So
I respect that. I need to do that more.
Yeah,
I do that a lot.
What I do is when I'm cooking, because I'm a fitness trainer, right? So I do my meal prep. So on Sunday, I do all of my cooking, and I tend to listen to like 5 to 6 hours of an audiobook while I'm cooking and cleaning and folding clothes and all that kind of stuff.
I love that. I'm somebody who can retain information better through hearing it than reading it.
Me too.
I just the way I am, and it's just, you gotta accept who you are. So I need to get more into audiobooks for sure. And it sounds like, I've been in a similar journey. It's very interesting to me. When I was about 16 years ago, I had my own show on television. It was called Wild World of Spike, and I had to do stunts, and I did a stunt. I got a hematoma, and I gained this level of fat. I call it permafat. I literally gained like 20 pounds on this show because I couldn't work out because I was so hurt, and I just ate my feelings away. And then, as you start to work out, like I even though I gained a little bit of back, but I lost that permafat through fasting and counting calories and stuff like that. And I feel like 1,000 times better. And I still want to lose another 20. I'm probably gonna have to cut a leg off to get there, but I'll do whatever it takes, right? But I just like when I hear your story, I just know there's so many people out there that maybe they're not on crutches, but they're just not as mobile as they used to be, or they just don't have the time. And I'm just like, like I've been really getting into weightlifting lately, and I can't tell you how shocked I am at how much I love it. I really like had this visceral reaction to weightlifting because I never was super strong. I had titties. I just didn't think I could do it. And it's just like a whole different world. And once you get your body moving, you just got to find one thing you love.
Yeah.
And once you get your body moving, then you can go into other. So whether it's just like even just walking, just get mobile. And then you could start adding on to that. And then you'll just want to start doing all these different workouts and you'll be amazed at how much better you will feel. You'll have a lot of energy. I feel great. You know, I mean, for 51, I feel great. So I relate to you. And then you start to, you know, for me, COVID hits and I just have a lot of time on my hands and I'm just doing deep dives into stuff. And I'm always trying to find what is the center of this crazy thing we call human history. What is the genesis of all of it? So it sounds like that's what you went on in your journey. So where do you want to start? Because I love this stuff. Hidden history is my favorite subject. It is by far. So I could talk about it all the time. Where do you want to start?
Well, what I would do is I would say that the best place to start is from the oldest text that we have on Earth, which are the Sumerian tablets. And these tablets talk about a history of up to 450,000 years ago. And they talk about a group of deities that call themselves the Anunnaki gods, or other people call them the Anunnaki. And these tablets are about 5,500 years old, and they were written in the oldest writing system called cuneiform. So they're from around 3,200 to 3,400 BC. Now, these records talk about a group of deities, like I said, and they're also what we would call the fallen angels or the Nephilim,
Bang.
or the Watchers.
Bang! We're in it. We're in it. This is it, dude. This is everything, bro. This is like, I had a discussion with my friend. I like, you know, he's super religious and I love him very much. And, you know, and I was like, it's God versus fallen angels. He had a problem with that statement, but that's not important to this. But I think the genesis of everything is fallen angels. That's why I believe in my heart of hearts.
It really does look that way. And the thing is now is that when you look at from one culture and society to the next, they just have different names. The Book of Enoch refers to them as the Watchers. We're called the fallen angels or the Nephilim in the Bible. You know, the Hopi call them the ant people. You know, the Dogons call them the Nomo. So there is an idea, a collective idea in all of humanity that there are a group of beings that came from the sky and they came here and they basically did some things to us. And this is why you find that the tales that the Sumerian tablets appear to be the original stories, and the tales and the stories found in the religious books and folklore appear to be just mere copies of the original information with a few redactions and name changes. So the thing, there's a very interesting tablet called the Sumerian King's List, and it says on it, after the kingship descended from heaven, the kingship was in Eridu. And the word heaven really just means sky. And, you know, in languages that are Latin-based languages, the word for heaven and sky are the same. So, for example, in Spanish, cielo is heaven and cielo is sky. In Portuguese is céu. And for us English speakers, we have a very difficult task of conceptualizing that heaven and the sky are two different things, because for us, because of the English language and religion, we think that heaven is this etheric, mythical place where God is sitting on a throne with a staff and a long beard and basically, you know, controlling us through vengeance and might. But when you look at the Sumerian King's List and the Sumerian tablets, it doesn't appear to be like that. So this is why it's easier for those people to understand that heaven is just really the sky. So according to the Sumerian King's List, the kingship was lowered from heaven to a place called Eridu. which is actually in Mesopotamia or present-day southern Iraq. And in this area, which was you would classify as Mesopotamia, you have a lot of different cities like Sumer, Akkad, Elam, you have you have Eridu. All these are places that these Anunnaki or Anunna gods congregated, built civilizations, and interacted with humans at that time. So when you look at that entire area, it also leads into a place called the Fertile Crescent, which is comprised of Lebanon and Canaan and the River Nile. So one of the things you realize about these deities is that they tend to set up a lot around rivers and ports and places that are close to water. And the reason for that is where there's water, there's civilization. And when there's civilization, you can actually produce life, have farming, and do agriculture and all that kind of stuff. And on this Sumerian kings list, we have a time, like I said, that goes up to 432,000 years ago.
Can I ask you something real quick, Todd? So
Sure.
I've had debates on this show. I've had debates on other shows. Darwinism, right? We get into Darwinism, this notion that we came from fish who got legs, and then they came into monkeys, and then there's this weird period where they don't know what the missing link is, and then suddenly there's man, right? Man comes out of nowhere. So I have this discussion with my buddy Tony, who again is a very religious man, and I'm asking him what came first, the fallen angels or humans, and he said the fallen angels. Now, do you have any thoughts on where man comes from, like modern man, or where what role the Anunnaki might have in any of this?
Okay, so in terms of like Darwinism and all that kind of stuff, what I'm going to say is prefaced on sources like the Nag Hammadi. And the way the Nag Hammadi explain creation is that God, or source, which is a better word to use, was form and void. So basically, he was everything and he was nothing at the same time. But what happened is that in order for him to become in existence, because he's the totality of everything, he had to create the universe so the universe would create him. So it's just like how you have the observer and the observed in quantum physics. So this is akin to the chicken and the egg. And what happened is that through many derivatives of himself, like first mystery, second mystery, triple powers, Barbello, etc., then you came down to another level, which was man. So the Sumerian tablets talk about there was an existing hominid species on Earth at the time. And the Anunnaki ended up mixing their DNA to create what you would call Homo sapien sapien, which was first man, or the Adam, or the Adapa, or the Adama, because Adama just really means first man. And that ties in very well with what I was going to say about on the Sumerian Kings list, because when they mixed their DNA with the existing hominid species, the creation was a superior human, right? Which is why you call them Homo sapien sapien. And they had extremely long lifespans. So you had characters like Alulim that ruled for 28,800 years, or 8 Shars, and Menluna Lua ruled for 43,200 years. Wow. So basically you had the Anunnaki that existed, according to them, in another place. They came to Earth. They found an existing hominid species, which was primitive, mixed their DNA, created a better version of humans, and then we today are the second version of those humans. Because after the flood, because the flood story isn't just only in the Genesis story in the Bible, it actually comes out of these Sumerian tablets. And there was a guy called Ubaratutu, who was the father of Utanapishtim, or what is the equivalent of the Noah character in the Bible, and he was the last ruler. And after the flood, then you saw that humanity was more or less wiped out, and this character, Utanapishtim / Ziasudra, who's the Noah character, basically was told to reseed the earth. And when they reseeded the earth, they did some genetic modification to the newer version of humans. One of those genetic modifications was capping our telomeres, and the next genetic modification was fusing chromosome 2. Now, science today tells us that this merger of chromosome 2 is actually not a natural occurrence, and that it was externally done. And they're saying that this took about 200,000 years to do, or it was done, I should say, about 200,000 years ago. So when you look at the Sumerian tablets, and they talk about 450,000 years of history up to, and the 8 immortal kings, they ruled for 241,200 years. When you do the math, you're getting 210,000 years, which is a ballpark figure of what science is telling us that the genetic modification was done. And the reason why that genetic modification was done to humans is because we were becoming too smart. We were becoming great. And in fact, on the myth of Adapa, Enki, one of the protagonists in this whole Sumerian story and pantheon, he told Adapa that I made you one of the best of us, Anunnaki, right? And basically, Anunnaki just means the bloodline of Anu. And because he did genetic modification, he would have been a direct descendant of Anu, which is why he was referred to as one of the Anunnaki. But what happened is that in the story of the Tower of Babel, the God of the Old Testament, he was very upset that humans had built a temple. And even in the story, it says, there's nothing that they cannot accomplish. And basically, we try to go to war with quotation marks God. And we built the tower, and this is where the story talks about they were shooting arrows in the sky, and when the arrows were coming down, they were full of blood. So that tower appears to be what would most likely would have been like a launch pad or some sort of a way station or something, but it was very tall in the air, and the humans built it because they were trying to get to God and go to fight God, and because God was in the sky. So this is why after that whole incident, God, quotation mark, said, let us confuse man so that he will no longer speak the same language. And it was a wrong, because there are actually two stories of the flood in the Bible, but after the receding the first time of humanity, then that genetic modification appears to have been done. And this is why there's been a systematic approach to dumb down humans, give us this information, force us to do things and inject things into our body that would take us further away from source, dumb down our consciousness, and so that we can become perpetual slaves to them.
Okay, there's a lot going on here. You dropped a lot of bombs there. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So it's like we always debate God here. There's a lot of people. I mean, Johnny and I both consider ourselves Christians, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of people who have come on this shows before and disputed our beliefs, and I try to allow everybody to come on and talk. The reason I don't really get into a lot of it is because I feel that there is a lot of Christian bashing in modern day culture. You know, that's my opinion. So like, we don't really need to hear, but I'm always open-minded to talk about anything. One of I think the arguments for God for me is that there are people who worship the other side, right? The darkness, the Satan, and all that stuff. When you look at like Amazon, one of Amazon's new buildings looks exactly like the Tower of Babel, right? Like, it's so crazy
How
to
do
me.
we know what the Tower of Babel looks like?
Well, I mean, we've seen many depictions of it. It's like kind of the spiral up.
Okay.
Like if you look up Tower of
There
Babel,
contemporary descriptions of it,
and then you look up like Amazon Tower of Babel a building, I think they're very similar. But the reason I bring this up is because, you know, a big argument, like when, you know, Johnny's brought this up before, like Bill Maher's religiosity book or movie, religious
yeah.
book, you know, he opens up with the discussion, with the discussion of how the same story is told over and over in all these different religions or philosophies, and the story of the Son of God born to a virgin and all that stuff, right? Over and over, mother worship, all that stuff. But the reason I bring this up is because what I find very interesting about what you just said, Todd, was when I was having a discussion with my friend Tony. He brought up something I'd never heard, an angle I've never heard before, and he was talking about that. The reason there are so many versions of that is because God, after the Tower of Babel, did we lose him? Hey guys, real quick, I'm going to tell you about our boy James Man and Copy My Crypto. Let me tell you about Copy My Crypto. Has it pissed you off to watch crypto fly up in prices for a decade and you still have done nothing about it? It makes sense. Crypto's complicated and really boring. Well, here's the good news. You don't need to know a thing about crypto to make money like so many have. The CopyMyCrypto.com membership site shows you the exact cryptos that YouTuber James McMahon personally owns, which means you just got to copy him. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. Just simply copy along. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about James. He runs the Crypto with James YouTube channel, which has over 54,000 subscribers. In the summer of 2020, he told his viewers to buy 26 cryptos. Had you put $100 into each, it went on to be well worth $123,000. Of the 26 cryptos, his top pick of the year, the one he singled out called Phantom, went up 692 times from when he said to buy it, okay? That one call alone has retired a number of people, including guys in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go to YouTube and verify for yourself. So if you'd like to join the 2,800 members who have copied James, then pause what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I said, but my viewers will get a full access for just $1. Yes, you've missed out on Bitcoin, but there's over 2 million other cryptos. Do you really think you've missed out on all of it? Guys, don't waste your time. Go to the site and read it. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/TFH. Guys, it's ended money worries for so many. It may just do the same for you. Copymycrypto.com/TFH. Sorry, guys. That was, the powers that be are on to us. They know our location. They're messing with our internet. So we're doing the best again. So I'm going to wrap up my long thing that I was talking about. So according to Tony, that when the Tower of Babel goes down and he makes everybody speak different languages, he sends them all over the world. And that's why the same story's told over and over again.
Because to me, that was never a weakness of religion. That was its greatest strength, if you ask me, because that means that we just have different eyewitnesses to the same event.
That's what that's what I found very interesting. I do find that when you see Amazon having a Tower of Babel building, it's like it reinforces all these stories. I mean, it's beyond interesting to me. So I forget the other part. I'm sorry. So where were we? You were talking about the arrows go up, they come down with blood, and they've so the dumbing down. That's where you were talking about. I'm sorry to cut you off right there. You were discussing the dumbing down of America. Now, who is doing the dumbing down? Is it, in your opinion?
Well, it looks like it is a collective approach between the bloodlines of the Anunnaki gods, which are comprised into the heads of state, monarchies, central bankers, aristocrats, all these type of people. They are part of a cabal. So there's something called the Club of 300, or otherwise known as the Olympians. And these groups of people, these 300 families, seem to be the head honchos that rule this planet lock, stock, and barrel. But even in that 300 committee, there is another sort of group of people, which are the 3 levels of the 13 families that rule. And these families basically are the 13 Zoroastrian bloodline families. You call them the 13 Zoroastrian bloodlines families of the Illuminati, or also called the Saturnalian Brotherhood. And in this upper level, because there are 3 levels of 13, and in the upper level of 13 is where you get the real power structure that controls everything. So these 13 families are the Borja or Borgia, the Breckspear, the Samagli, the Orsini, Conti, Chigi, Colonna, Farmese, Medici, Gianti, Farmfill, Este, and Aldobrandini. These families are the families that rule this planet lock, stock, and barrel. And they do it through many different groups and organizations. One is like the Jesuits, others are the Knights of Malta, etc., etc. All of them form together to create this monolithic structure that basically controls the planet lock, stock, and barrel, and are systematic in dumbing us down.
Okay. Let me ask you something real quick. So you're saying within the 13 families, there's a hierarchy as well?
Yeah, so there appears to be 3 levels of 13 families.
Damn.
So the Rothschild family, they would be tier 2, right? And if you look at it, the Rothschilds married into the Aldobrandini family. So the Rothschild, which is French, I can't remember which one, he married Lady Aldobrandini. Prince, I think she's called Princess, something like that. He married into the Aldobrandini family. So a lot of people would see the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Warburgs, these are the main families. No, they're like the underbosses. They're the second level of family. And the man that rules it all is the Grey Pope, right?
Oh,
he's Pepe
dude, you're
Orsini.
getting in black nobility now? Now we're dancing
Yes.
that dance. I love this.
Yes. So those, the black nobility, these are all Italian families, right? And this is why it is very hard to track these families. These families never appear in the news. And if they do, it's always positive press that they get. And they own the system, right? So the King of England, the late Queen of England, all of these are tier 2, right? These families, the prime ministers, the presidents, they all answer to these people, right? And Pepe Orsini is the one that rules it all, right? And then from there seems to be a gray area of who actually rules. But for when you look at the information, it looks like there's a negative energy that is ruling the planet that seems to be coming from Saturn. And then that energy is passed through as to the moon, which seems to be like a transport hub or satellite.
Wow, now we're talking.
And then you have the Anunnaki gods, which are the ones that seem to be ruling on a higher level, in a cosmic level, because they came from another planet, right? And are
any of these other lunar gods? Are any of these other gods fallen angels or any of that stuff?
I would say that the Anunnaki gods or the Anunnaki are the fallen angels.
Okay.
I would argue that.
So what's very interesting, and I just don't want to get too far away from the point you just made about the Italian banking family. Sorry, everybody. So a guy who puts out some really great videos, Ian Carroll. We've had him on the show. Incredibly good looking, 6'6" guy. He'll snatch your chick. Okay. So he put out a really interesting video, and it was about who owns everything. And, he got into, like, we've seen it before, where these 3 organizations, State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock, all own giant chunks of every corporation. They all own giant chunks of each other. Yeah, so it's basically like they're just one group. So, and everyone says BlackRock owns everything. Well, Ian Carroll did some really great research into it, where it starts to get into the family in which we do not speak of, right?
Oh, I saw this. Yes.
right?
Yes.
But he gets into who owns the biggest chunk of BlackRock, and it is Bank of America.
Yeah.
Then you go into who's Bank of America, and they do all these through like just banks buying banks buying banks. It's almost like you can't follow. It goes back to basically a bank in Italy owns Bank of America. And which goes back to what you just said, which is Italian banking families, which to me are Babylonian bankers.
Yes, and the thing is that that bloodline or bloodlines actually come out of Egypt, because when you look at the after Egypt, the pharaonic line fell, they went into Rome. So this is where you have a very similar pantheon structure in Rome and in Greece and Egypt, because they're all basically the same bloodlines that just went from one place to the next, and wherever was most hospitable for them to be able to do stuff, they went. This is where you have the Egyptians were worshiping Jupiter and Saturn, because Saturn is related to like Kronos, the keeper of time. And then you had Venus and Neptune. So there are a lot of similarities between the Greek pantheon, the Egyptian pantheon, and then the Roman pantheon. And those families come out of the Ptolemaic bloodline families, which basically are from the pharaonic bloodlines that came out of Egypt. So this is why there are a lot of similarities, and they've done extremely well to hide who they are and what they are. This is why I almost guarantee you that most people have never heard of those families before, right? Especially like the Aldobrandini. The Rothschilds married into the Aldobrandini family, right? And this is how they cement their power structure. So it's a giant monolith that rules this planet. And basically, they're really afraid of us because, like I was saying before, in the myth of Adapa, Enki says that I made you to be one of the best of us, or to be the best, right? I can't remember the exact wording, but basically it's either one of the best or the best, if memory serves me correctly. And if you think about it, if we are one of the best or to be the best, it means then that they are afraid of us, because once we realize our full divinity, we can break the spell that they have on us. Because look at the stories that you have. One is in the Nag Hammadi text, the Quran, the Tanakh, and the Bible. It says that the fallen angels were supposed to bow and worship man. Why was that? Because we were better than them, because we were both of body and spirit, and the potential that we had inside of us would have superseded them, so we wouldn't have needed them. Make sense?
No, it totally 100% makes sense. So when we get into these families, their connections to the Anunnaki, would you say that these are what a lot of people like to call the reptilians, the lizard people, that they, you know, we had these human beings, God's creation, and then the Anunnaki needed to make somebody who controlled us, and that's why all of these elites, these families, and even when you start to just get into modern day American politics, how many of our politicians are in fact related? Like, even if you get into like this, they have a show out here where like they take celebrities and they teach them about their lineage, and it always turns out, oh yeah, your family were slave traders, like almost every time. And to me, that's super interesting, because like here we are, like these slave traders of the past were elites, and now their offspring of many generations are still elites, right? It's like interesting to me. So do you have any thoughts on that, on whether that is true or not?
Well, what it looks like is that there are some that look like reptilians, because basically these Anunnaki gods, right, don't seem to come from one particular planet or one race. Because if you go back into, say, for example, where the whole reptilian ideology or idea came from, is that there were figurines found in Iraq, and they show you a reptilian looking female standing with a baby in her hand, breastfeeding the baby. So she actually has breasts. She's breastfeeding the baby, and she looks super reptilian.
A human
this
baby.
is-
A human baby, right? Is that
No,
right?
a reptilian
A
baby.
reptilian baby too. Okay. All right.
Baby
Yeah.
lizards, dog.
You can find it online.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
think
check it out
if you- Yeah, I think it's the country's Iraq, right?
Okay.
And this is where the whole idea of the reptilians came from. And when you dig as well, you see that these Anunnaki gods or these fallen angels, the Anunnaki, they're from places like Sirius, they're the Pleiades, Zeta Reticuli, the Draconian, the Draco system. So what it is that there are more draconians that appear to be negative than positive, but there's some that are positive. It's just like there's some, exactly, that's the one I'm talking about, right? There's some Palladians that are positive and some that are negative. There's some Arcturians that are positive and negative. So you see that she is looks reptilian, and the baby looks reptilian, and she's got breasts, right?
Certainly not human.
Exactly. So this is why I have said on previous shows that I've done that they had to have a physical body and genitalia in order to have sex with the primitive hominid species that existed on Earth. And then those offspring, which is really the story of the sons of man had sex with the sons of God had sex with the daughters of man and produced the giants, right? Basically, that was a mixture of the two species, and some genetic mutation occurred, and they were extremely big. This is why you had Goliath and the story of David and Goliath. And then even when the Smithsonian has been extremely proficient in hiding all of this information, but if you search back previous records online newspaper articles, you will see that they found up to 16-foot tall skeletons, and the Smithsonian just came, nothing to see here, and the story just disappeared. Just like the crash in Roswell. They said that it was a balloon or something so that crashed. And there's a very interesting book called The Terror Papers, written by, I think, something Morning Sky. You can check the name of that book. And he wrote the book because of a story that his grandfather told him. So listen to this. His grandfather was one of the young native indigenous people of the area in Roswell. His grandfather was one of the people who met one of the surviving extraterrestrials in that crash in Roswell. From memory, the name of the extraterrestrial was called BT or Betty, B-E-T-I. And he communicated to them, and it was a group of people that I think it was 7 boys or something like that, through a stone, a crystal stone is how he communicated with them. And the story that he tells him is very much similar to the story in the Sumerian tablets. And you actually know that there was influence from the Sumerians, because there was I think from memory, a Navajo elder who had a small clay tablet that was given to him from ancestor to ancestor, of a very small tablet like that had cuneiform on it. And the legend is that this came from their gods, or the ant people as they called them, right? So how can you have cuneiform in the Americas and Sumeria is over there in the Middle East? You know, they had to be contact with these beings.
Do you have any thoughts on the? By the way, I wanted to make a joke that lizard breast milk tastes like Mountain Dew, but I didn't. You were on fire. I didn't want to slow you down, so had to get that out because I'll never be able to say that again. Todd, is there any thoughts that these aliens could be angels or demons in your research and thoughts?
It is possible, because when you look at the Nagamati text, right, you get an idea that they could be interdimensional beings and extraterrestrial beings at the same time that had the ability to exist in the spiritual world and also the physical world. So we don't know 100%. Anyone that can come and say definitively that it is this verbatim isn't telling you the truth, but it looks and appears as if they have the ability to be in the etheric realm and also the physical realm at the same time. And they could have a body that they can inhabit in this realm. And it seems that they can come in and out. Because when you look at things like the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Thoth says that he was able to leave his body and travel to other worlds, right? And when he on his travels, he said that he met beings that were creating other worlds and teaching consciousness. So it looks like these beings have either advanced technology, advanced spiritual knowledge, or maybe a combination of both put together, that they can inhabit in this realm and outside of this realm at the same time, which is why the Sumerian tablets talks about them having sex, drinking beer, making humans in test tubes and in laboratories, going to war with each other, having emotions, some of them dying, like Demuzi, who was the shepherd. He died. He was, I think, from memory, Inanna's husband or boyfriend. So it looks like they have the ability to come in and out. So I would say it's a bit of both, or either solely extraterrestrial, or it could be solely interdimensional, but they're using sort of projections to govern from this world. But my take is that they're a combination of extraterrestrial and interdimensional beings that have great knowledge, wisdom, and technology to do these things.
Hey guys, real quick, I'll tell you about our friends at Home Chef. The simple, easy meal prep that are delicious that you can do at home. You know, I love my meal kits, okay? Being able to feast on a delicious meal without the long prep and the cook times is what drew me to Home Chef over the other guys, okay? Home Chef meals are effortless. Even for someone like me who isn't making Top Chef anytime soon. I'm not good at cooking. I want to get better, and Home Chef makes it easier and easier on me, okay? Home Chef has over 30 options a week and serves a variety of dietary needs, so you don't have to worry about what to make ahead of time, okay? I love Home Chef. Dude, Home Chef even has delicious kid-friendly family meals with 18 new options each week. It's a picky eater approved and takes the stress out of dinner time. Look at some of these meals. Look at this. Oh my God. Orange, ginger, sesame, pork, meatballs. Holla at your boy. Keep going.
Tuscan style trout.
Come on, let's go. Dude, what else we got? We got Mexicali.
That Mexicali cheesy penne is the shit.
Let's go, bro. So it's real simple, real fun, really tasty. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 18 free meals plus free dessert for life. And of course, free shipping on your first box. Go to homechef.com/tinfoil. Did I just read that right? For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 18 free meals plus free dessert for life.
Amazing.
Amazing. All you got to do is go to homechef.com/tinfoil for 18 free meals and free dessert for life. Oh my God. My disclaimer voice must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Respect. One of the things I said at the beginning of this podcast, not this episode, but the podcast, is like, it's like every movie ever made all going on at one time. Yeah. It really is that. It's just, it's so deep. You know, and I you know, you can talk to people who are into the Abrahamic religions, and they will talk to you about how, you know, like a lot of this stuff, the Emerald Tablets, all this stuff is like all like a trick by Satan to confuse us and to, you know, to distance us from God. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that all of this is real. And, you know, I'm not going to get into my personal beliefs, but I think it's all real. I think it's like history is way older than we think it is. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, and you also get, I mean, especially in the Christian community that I grew up in, people assuming that because it wasn't covered in the Bible that it didn't happen. You know, like, oh, that can't be true. It's not in the Bible. You know what I mean? But there other stuff happened. These are just these are the highlights. You know what I mean? History's been going on for a while.
Yeah, that is such a great point, Johnny. Like, not everything of all time can fit. How big would that book be?
Yeah, I mean, it'd
be like a book the size of the Empire State Building.
Right.
It would be so tall.
I mean, think about it. They gave like a few lines to the creation of the universe. You know what I mean? They're skipping some stuff.
Again, I think you're totally onto something. Like, those were like the important stories that need to be told. Not every moment was, you know? And this comes from a guy who loves the Bible.
Same. Yeah.
I find it so interesting, dude. And it's just like everyone is so set on what they think is the truth. And I've learned you just got to keep your head on a swivel. You got to be open-minded to it, right? That's my opinion.
Well, the Bible even says that. To test it and try it.
The thing about religion, the idea of God and stuff, is something that a lot of people don't really understand. So first thing first, the word religion. The word religion comes from the Latin word religare, which means to hold, to bind, or to thwart forward progress of.
What?
So what religion has done is it has thwarted, held, and bound the minds and consciousness of its followers to not be able to understand that they are greater than they think they are, and the power of the universe is inside of them. The next thing we need to understand is that the concept of God is very much misunderstood. So I get a lot of pushback when they say the things I'm about to say, but the things that I say will basically upset some very, very ultra religious people. And first thing first is that, to preface the point I'm going to make, is that let's create two equal scales of measurement here. So can we agree that an apple tree cannot bear oranges, right? I think that's obvious. Everyone will say that.
I agree.
Then, okay, the next scale of measurement, can we agree that a good person would be more likely to a person to speak positive things, do good actions, has kindness, and has positive and good thoughts? Would we say that that is a general synopsis of a good person?
Yes.
Okay, so that means a bad person would be a person that does very evil acts, things like rape, murder, pillage, genocide, has very negative words and very bad and negative thoughts. Could we agree that that is probably a synopsis of a bad person?
I will agree.
Okay, good.
I will concur.
Okay, let's bring those equal scales of measurement to God. So if we have a God that tells his people to rape, murder, and pillage, cast them out of their lands, have sex slaves, and to kill the infidels or kill others that don't believe in the things that he says is and wants his followers to do, would we say that that's a good God or a bad God?
Johnny, I'm going to leave that to your answer.
Well, it would depend on the standard of the time. I think that's important to take into consideration. But yeah, I believe on judging people by their works, so I don't know why I wouldn't apply that to a deity as well. But I will say, I've heard it argued convincingly that it was, laws back then were brutal. The enforcement of them had to be brutal also because people were savage. And I can see a different God for a different time. That I can imagine that. So that's a complicated question, though.
It is a complicated question.
But the thing is, hold on. We just set up an equal set of scales, and they were very black and white. So if a God, so let me flip it the other side. So if a God tells his people to do acts of kindness, forgive those who've trespassed against him, give to the poor, and do good things, is that considered a good God or a bad God?
Johnny?
Well, that's the new covenant. Yeah, that's...
Okay, good. So we can agree that a good God would tell his followers to do good works, do good, speak good things, have good thoughts, have repentance and stuff like that. So that, because obviously those are good actions. So a bad God would tell his followers to do the opposite, right? Can we agree that is how we set up the skills.
No,
right?
I understand what you're saying, and I just this is so above my pay grade, like in terms of mentally. I'm just gonna tell you because I want to tread on. Like I'm gonna get beat in the I'm gonna take
I know, but this is the thing. We have to have these conversations.
But I just want here. This is
to break the dogma.
No,
That
I
is the
understand what
thing.
you're saying. I listen. This is where we have these conversations. People give me so much shit that I don't allow certain conversations to happen. I allow pretty much all the conversations to happen. Okay, that's what I do. I just have to say, if you create something, right? And we create this paradise, right? And in this paradise, you it's not even in this paradise. You create this realm, and in this realm, you have banished entities down here. And then at the same time, you've created a place for this even greater design to live and thrive. And these entities that you've banished out of heaven to this realm start to influence this great creation of yourself. Is there a call for the pushing back and to do God's will? That's the only thing I could think of. Again, I'm new to this thing. I'm trying to grow, but it's like if you create God's perfect creation and then you have a bunch of rebellious entities down there, is there a war that's going to happen? I'm just asking questions right now. I have no. I like you bring up great points, and it's like hard to go. Oh, if we're using human logic, and that seems to be the debate, right? I mean, that seems to be the debate.
But this is the thing, and the reason why I try to set up equal scales of measurement is that we can be very black and white when it comes to an apple tree not being able to bear oranges, a good person between a bad person. But when it comes to God, we disregard the equal scales of management or the thought process that we have to set up the understanding of what would be classified as quotation marks good or bad. So this is why I said, well, look, if we have a good God would tell his people to do good works, forgive, give to the poor, do acts of kindness and stuff like that. And Johnny pretty much nodded in acceptance, like, yeah, that would be a good God. So then why is it then that when a God now that is quotation marks bad tells his people to do these things, rape, murder, pillage, genocide, how can we accept that is a good God, right? And in fact, I'm going to go even deeper on this statement. Show me in the Bible where Satan has done acts of murder, rape, pillage, and violence in the Bible. The reason why many people can't answer that question is that all the acts of murder, rape, and pillage were done by God. God killed up to 3 million people in the Bible. So if the act of killing is bad, how can that be the creator of the universe and be a good God? It simply can't. So in fact, the statement I'm going to make today is that the God of the Old Testament is Satan, right? And the statement I'm going to make is that the gods, plural, in all of the Abrahamic faiths are Satan. But I'm going to caveat that word and say I'm going to explain what Satan is.
Big game hunting today.
That's a loaded statement, but I'm going to come and give you some context on why I made that statement. First thing first, let me tell people the people that Satan killed. And that was in the story of Job, where Satan asked God to test Job, and God said yes. And it was about 12 people from memory that Job killed, all of his servants, his family, his wife, his daughters, etc. And it was only Job that was left. That is the only place where Satan actually kills humans. All the other stories that come, and that far, I will do even better than that. I will give the receipts, a couple of places on where you can find some of these acts of lovingness from God. So you have murder, rape, and pillage at Jabesh, and which is in Judges 21, verse 10 to 24. Rape, murder, and pillage of the Midianites in Numbers 31, 7 to 18. Rape in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 1 to 14. sex slavery in Exodus 21, 7, verse 11. So those are some of the receipts on where you can find some of the loving acts of God. Now, let me explain the whole Satan, and I'm going to toss in the word Lucifer into that now to explain better why you can make statements like that. First thing first, the word Satan means adversary. Satan isn't just some character that sits on some throne in the underground, burning in flames, has a pitchfork, a tail, and is red. That whole concept of hell came from the word Hades, which means the underworld, which was in both the Greek and the Egyptian belief system. And it was really supposed to be the passing of the soul, where the soul leaves the body and the soul goes and be judged. This is why you have in Egyptian mythology that the heart of the person, the soul, is judged on a scale which, if the heart is lighter than a feather, it passed the test of time, and it would ascend to the higher level, which would be going into heaven, right?
Yeah.
Now, that is where that whole concept of Hades, because the Greek word is Hades, and that's where the whole concept of hell comes from. And also, the Catholic Church are the ones that injected this idea of hell into the religion. And remember what I said about religion? It comes from the Latin word religare, which means to hold, to bind, or to thwart forward progress of. That idea and concept of hell, and you burning forever, was injected by the Catholic Church to scare people and to use fear in order to get them on side. And as we saw in 4 years ago, the tactic of fear was used to lock down the entire planet. And one of the ways and systems that are used to control man is through fear. So getting back to the Satan point, Satan just means adversary. And when you look in these ancient texts, these Anunnaki gods were all Satans at one particular time. Enlil, Enki, Ninurta, Isis, Shamash, all of them were a Satan, which means they were an adversary of humanity at the time. So Satan isn't just one character. And when you look in these texts, you see that all of these Anunnaki gods with small g, right, were actually did bad stuff against humanity. Yahweh, who is really Enlil, he just used to get tired of humans and go and say, look, kill them. I'm tired. They're making too much noise. And he would go and just slaughter some of them. He created famines that were so bad back in times of antiquity that humans actually had to eat their own children to survive.
Now, is there any chance that this is done in order to right wrongs?
No, it was just a way to, you don't do what I'm saying, I'm going to kill you. Simple. You know what I mean? Even King David, right? And David was supposed to go and do certain works from quotation marks, God, Enlil, Yahweh, Jehovah, and you didn't want to do them. He just killed 70,000 of his soldiers because they use fear and they use these very strong tactics to keep humans in line. So this is why we would just submit. So getting back to the word Lucifer now, the word Lucifer was transliterated from the Greek word phosphorus because this information was written in ancient Greek. And phosphorus actually is Venus. And Venus at the time was a sun, because through the Sumerian tablets it said that Venus did a flyby. So Venus was the morning star. So the word Lucifer, phosphorus in Greek, means the star of the morning or the morning star. And that was a sun at a time because we had celestial movements. And for some reason, Venus, which still today is the brightest star at night, was closer to Earth, and it was a sun because we had more than one sun. This is one of the things. So this is why there is very much a misunderstanding between the word Satan and Lucifer. And what's happened is that those two words have merged to have this devil character, when in reality, the devil isn't what we think it is. We are the devil and we are also God, right? Because it's inside of us that has the two positive and negative energy. And the devil, which would be equivalent to more like the ego, is what causes us to have jealousy, envy, lust, hate, causes us to self-sabotage, causes us to eat foods that we don't want to, that don't serve our body any good, causes us to inject ourselves with poison and euthanize ourselves, causes us to worship government, and government becomes government God. It all comes from the ego, which is the negative energy inside of us, because we're both spiritual and we're both physical at the same time. And we have lost the ability to understand that we have to find a balance between these two, because it's not that the ego is all bad. Because, for example, do we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is ruled by the subconscious mind, and then you have the subconscious mind, which is one that you use for driving, cooking, and talking, and that kind of stuff. And things like breathing and like sleeping are things that we just do naturally. If you get a cut, you don't tell your body, hey, cut, you need to heal and you need to send amount of blood there in order to create antibodies. No, it just does it. And what it is that we have lost the understanding that we are actually all God. I am God. Johnny's God. You are God, Sam. The trees are God. The plants are God. The animals are God. Everything is God, right? And the reason why I set up this topic the way it did is that people to understand that it is much bigger than what we think it is. And we've been tricked, manipulated, and hoodwinked into thinking that we're some small, insignificant something that has no power. When you look at the scripture, it says that let us make man in our own image, which means that we have to look like God. And then also, if we look like God, that means we actually have to be God, because we are all fractals of God, having an individualized experience, so we become co-creators of God. When you read the Nag Hammadi text, it talks about how God was everything and nothing at the same time. So when he created the universe, because the universe could create him, because a tree doesn't actually make noise in the forest unless someone is there to visibly observe that it is making noise. So this is where the chicken and the egg principle comes from, and the observer and the observed comes from, right? This is quantum entanglement that we're talking about. So we have we are a fractal of God containing the whole. So for people to understand this concept, is like if you go to the beach and you take a cup and you take some water and put into that cup, the water in the cup is really the ocean. It has the same saline solution content, has the same properties as the water in the ocean. And by the way, it is wet because it is water. The body is our body is like the cup. The cup holds the spirit. And the spirit inside of us is everything. It has all of the attributes of God. But we are not God as in a monolithic entity, but all of us are God, and we merge together to be God. This is why God knows everything, because he knows everything through us. We are like derivatives and like antennae of God out there just gathering information. So Source knows everything because it's through us that he gets all she, because it's both male and female, gets all the information from the universe through all of us. Even the ants, the animals, they're God. This is why, like, even when Christ said, I did not come to judge. I've reserved judgment for the Son. And who was the Son of Man? All of us. All of us are God. And this is why it's very hard for religious people to understand that they're not some small insignificant thing that, we just go to school, get a nice secure job, work for 40 years of our life, work for 40 hours a week and retire on 40% of our salary. We're more than that. We have the spark of divinity inside of us, which is called the Christ, or some people call it the I am, the Kundalini. We're all of that. But what it is now is that we have lost our way to understand that we are that. Think about it. Have you ever heard of something called the placebo effect?
Yes.
Okay. So on normal circumstances, when drugs are brought to market, they test all the drugs. And the research shows that between 30 to 33% of all patients have the placebo effect. which means that they cured themselves. Their mind cured them of that thing, right? So this is why I'm going to argue that Christ never healed anyone. He said he actually was just the image of perfection. So people believed that if they were to touch him or to be in his presence, that they would be healed. This is why he said it is through your belief you are healed. Go forward and sin no more through your belief, right? Etc., etc., etc. Notice what he said, through your belief. So people may come and say, oh, Todd, but you just, we have no power, we can't do this. But how do you explain the placebo effect, right? They're just some humans that are more in tune to it. This is why having positive affirmations can help in manifesting certain things. This is why having positive thoughts can actually create things in reality. Because in fact, all the stuff that we have here that's permitting this call to take place is a confirmation of thoughts. So someone had a thought of a microphone in order to amplify your voice. Someone had a thought of headphones that allow me to connect into my computer. Someone had the thought of having computers and an internet connection to be able to do stuff and transact wirelessly. All of these are confirmations of thoughts. Now, if you want to get really into the weeds here, if you have any
deeper
psychedelic experiences.
Okay. And now you have some questions. I have some questions. Go deeper, then I got questions.
Yeah. So if anyone has ever had any psychedelic experiences, they would understand the power of thoughts. So I literally had a weekend retreat with the ayahuasca medicine last weekend, and I was shown very, very clearly I saw how thoughts were created. I saw how they manifested, and how thoughts are both in the past, the present, and the future all at the same time. And I will never forget, there was this one moment where I saw an apple and I wanted to eat the apple. And this was all in my mind. I saw how I felt hungry, and I saw the thought creating the action of me going and picking at the apple. I saw the thought creating the feeling of satiation and feeling replenished from having the apple. And then I realized how all those three things in the past, the present, and the future were all connected through thought. The things that we just can't simply explain that are on a higher level of understanding. But those things now are what you call from the spiritual and the etheric realm, which is why I always tell people that if you want to understand a little bit more of the world and the universe, try psychedelics, try something like ayahuasca, and you'll start to be able to see some of the things that just we can't explain because it's just how they are. And we are greater than we think we are, and the power of the universe is inside of us.
Okay. A lot of stuff you're saying has resonated with me in the past. I have some questions. Is there sin?
That's a good question.
That's why I asked it.
So the thing is, sin actually comes from the word Nanasin, who was a moon god, and he was one of the Anunnaki gods of antiquity. And the thing of sin is that was basically the way it looks like it was created to trick humans into having this guilt and fear-based creation of the matrix to make us feel, because sin, the way it's explained and what it is not positive, it's negative. And this is one of the tactics that was used to inject this fear and guilt belief system into us, because it lowers our frequency, energy, and vibration, and therefore lowers our consciousness. So I would say that sin does not really exist, but at the same time it exists because we believe it exists. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let me ask you something. So I've had this belief for a long time that life is about simple versus easy. Okay. And easy is pornography, drugs, alcohol, fast food. For a joke for Americans, 90 Day Fiance, whatever is like spiritual rot, right? And then the other side of it is simple, which is working out, prayers, getting closer to God, all that stuff. So there are people out there that don't believe in sin, right? They don't believe in it. We see them all the time. They're very much anti-God, anti-that. They don't believe in sin. Yet, and I'm just asking questions here. The point of the show is to allow the guest to get their point of opinion across. I just have questions. So they don't believe in sin. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in anything. They're heathens, whatever it is, right? But yet they do these things that like seem to get them farther and farther from God. Like I would say, does the average OnlyFans model believe in sin? Probably not, right? Probably not. But yet we see that their lives just go to shit. High vibrational, low vibrational, right? Like, are you doing high vibrational stuff or are you doing low vibrational stuff? So my question to you is like how does that work into how you see the world? If they don't believe in sin, yet they commit these actions and their lives seem to go off the rails. I mean, if we study adult film stars, according to some studies, and I don't know how they get these numbers, but there is an understanding that the average adult film star lives to 38 years old. And, there's YouTube channels where they go like, oh, adult film stars we lost in the last 5 years. Somebody dedicates their life to doing this. And they list all of the ways that these adult film stars have died. And it's always, literally, I'd say 95%. Drug overdose, murder, suicide. So my question to you is, how does that, and you can dismiss what I'm saying, I'm fine with it. But how does that fit into what you're saying? If they don't believe in sin, and they do as they want, yet their life seems to go completely out of control. And I tell you this as a guy who had a bad drug problem and dealt with crippling sex addiction. I still fight all that. I don't do drugs. I mean, my war against pornography is very well documented, right?
Check out Broken Simulation for that.
Okay. How does that fit into the way you see it?
Okay, so let me clarify first, and then I'll answer your question. I personally don't believe in sin, but the reason why I say that is that I think sin is the wrong word. What I do believe is positive acts and positive energy versus negative acts and negative energy, right? So the problem that we have is that the word sin has the connotations that it is like anti-God, right? And that's the reason why I don't believe in it, because we have this thing called original sin that makes us, again, as I was trying to explain, it gives us this guilt and fear-based consciousness, this guilt and shame consciousness that we're very small, insignificant things, and this guy died on a cross for us to save our sins and stuff, right? Now, in terms of what you were talking about, in terms of the quotation mark sinning and the acts of pornography and OnlyFans and stuff, I do believe that there are things that are good actions and positive actions. So an OnlyFans model, let's keep it 100, that's not really a positive act. In fact, that act is not only negative to her, but negative to society, because that act causes guys to become simps. It causes guys to go and give away all their money.
Unbelievable, right?
It causes guys to ruin their lives because all they're doing is masturbating all day, every day, and it lowers their testosterone. So to make that even worse, they don't even have the self-confidence, the belief, or the skill to go and talk to a girl in the real world to try to get sex, so that the things that he's doing to himself, she can do to him, because she actually finds him attractive and she likes him. So I do believe in acts that are both positive and negative. And in that case, things like rape, murder, pillage are all negative acts. So the actual sin as we would conceptualize it, I don't believe in, because I believe that we are perfect beings, but we've just forgotten how perfect we are. And what has happened is that all of these words, and because like I said, the word sin comes from Nana Sin, who was the chief moon god of right? He is actually the god that the Muslims worship because his symbol was the crescent moon. And we know that the cult that was in came down into Arabia, and his he was called Jebel Hubal. The name that was given to that moon god in Arabia was Hubal, and that was the god of Ur. And on every masjid and mosque, you have a crescent moon. Signs and symbols are what rule the world, and what people think and what really is are two different things. So I say all that to say that I don't believe in sin the way it is, because what it does is that it doesn't give us any power, right? And what it does, it injects a consciousness of guilt and shame that we are so insignificant that we can't do anything. And all these religions are basically have the same ideology, that we are all we are sinners, right? So we're not worthy of God, but we have a Messiah. The Jews have said that a Messiah is to come. The Christians believe that a Messiah has come and will come again. And the Muslims have one called I can't remember the word now. It's going to come out to me to come to them. He's another masjid. I just had mental breakdown.
Hey, buddy, you're crushing. You're fine with words. You're doing great with words.
I literally just had it.
It's all fine. It's all fine. You don't have to worry about the words. You trust me. If anyone should understand it, it's me.
Yes, but the Muslims are expecting the Messiah to come as well, right? So my point is that whole concept of sin is that we are sinners. We are terrible beings. We don't deserve God's love, but we're going to have this Messiah that is going to come and save us and redeem us of our sins, right? And he will save us. So this is why you have the same consciousness that is applied into government. This is why people believe the government is there as their friend and the government is there to save them, right? And I'm sorry to say that whole understanding of a savior character takes away from your power. And the truth is that we save ourselves. We are our own Messiah because we all are God. But what it is that we have to do what we call the hero's journey and go inside of us to heal our fears and traumas so that we can become the Christ. Because the problem is that Christ is a spiritual office. Christ was not a person. Because the character that became the Christ, his name was Yehoshua or Yeshua. It was not Jesus. The word Jesus never existed. Jesus is a modern day construct. Even in the first English Bible in 1611, the King James Version, the word that there was used was Isus, Iesous. Now, there's a little bit of a history of that word. Isus actually is a Greek word that means hail Zeus. And Zeus was Enlil, who was an Anunnaki god. So when people are using the word Jesus, they're actually giving veneration and praise to Enlil, Yahweh, Jehovah, who is an extraterrestrial god. So in fact, they're actually creating an egregore. And this is why I say that the word that Jesus never existed. Yeshua existed. He became the Christ, yes. But in fact, what we have is an egregore. The word Jesus is an egregore, which is a non-physical entity or thought form that arises from the collective thoughts and emotions of a distinct group of individuals. So anyone that's going to come and say there's power in Jesus, they don't know what they're talking about. That name never, ever existed.
Where did it come from? Like, why does it make it into the... I have friends of mine right now that are going to listen to this are just going to be punching the air when they hear all this. And
that to me, the name to me doesn't... It's really what you're thinking when you say the word is what, right?
But is there anything to the... You know, you always hear people when they're dealing with like possession, right? That the name Jesus runs off dark energy.
But this is the thing. I'm going to show you now how Jesus came about. And I now remember the word I was trying to tell you. It's called Mahdi. I knew it was going to come back to me.
You got
So,
okay.
I just had a brain freeze. So
okay.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to explain how the whole word Jesus came about. So, like I said, the word Jesus isn't the original Hebrew name, which it was Yehoshua or Yeshua in the original Hebrew text. This name and spelling was translated from language to language and filtered down into the name we know today as Jesus. Furthermore, there was a 4-step process to erase the official or orthodox Hebrew or Aramaic, because Yeshua spoke Aramaic, and it took nearly 1,600 years to evolve. So the Hebrew was capital Y, capital H, capital W, apostrophe S-H-U-A. So this is Yehoshua. So the first stage that was done in Aramaic was that they removed the capital H, capital W, which made it capital Y apostrophe S-H-U-A. So this is why I said that some call it Yehoshua and others will call it Yeshua. So in the Hebrew and Arabic name, it was transliterated into Greek and it became Eseus, I-E-S-O-U-S. And the Greek was transliterated into Latin to Jesus in the 1611 King James Version of the Bible. That is the, I misquoted. I thought it was I-E-S-O-U-S, but it was I-S-U-S. I-E-S-U-S, sorry. And then the Latin was transliterated into Jesus, right? So to clarify,
who did all this? You said they. Who's they?
The I would say is the bloodlines of the Anunnaki, because they're the ones that control all the information. All information is controlled by them, right? And all the information has been drip feeded to humanity to create a narrative, because religion is just a set of dogmatic statements that you're not allowed to question, and they all have a narrative which is why the books were written in the way they were written. And when you go back to 325 for the Council of Nicaea, they handpicked books which to put in the canonical Bible, which is why certain things that like the book of Enoch was left out, the book of Joshua was left out, and the book of Barnabas, the book of Maccabees, all of these were books that were left out because it would tell us too much information and make us realize, hold on a minute, we live on a prison planet. The God that they're telling us in this book, in the Old Testament, is not really the creator of the universe. And we are run by extraterrestrials, right? Because the book of Enoch clearly shows us about extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings. So the consonant J was not known in the 14th century. Therefore, both the J and the I use the Y sound, as in the word yes. So in the Greek, which was spelled I-E-S-O-U-S, it will be Yeseus because of the Y sound. And in Latin, the word Jesus or Jesus, because the I was pronounced as a Y. So in the 18th century, the letters J and I were split into a consonant and vowel, and J was adopted as the consonant letter. Now, since the new consonant J was closer to the modern Y sound, the letter J was chosen into the translation to Jesus. This is why I say that the character that we call Jesus never existed, which is just many of the lies that was injected in religion to take us further away from the truth that Yehoshua was an ascended master. He became the Christ in order to teach us how to get back to source and to escape the matrix, right? The thing is, Christ is very much misunderstood because Christ is a spiritual office that one holds when they acknowledge the presence of the Mother, Father, God, or the I Am presence inside of them. This is why you can say Christ's most powerful words were spoken through the I Am. So Christ is a consciousness. It is not it is not a person, because if you look at the word, original word was Christos in Greek. Christos translated into Sanskrit is Krishna, and Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita talks about Krishna consciousness, and Krishna says that he is the Godhead supreme personality. So this is why I argue that Yehoshua the Christ and Krishna for the Hindus are the same consciousness. They come from the same realm, right, of understanding. So Christ refers to the spiritual aspect of Yehoshua, and it basically is what dwells inside of all of us. This is why we're taught to worship the man Jesus. So this man Jesus is going to save you. Don't do anything. Don't do internal work. Don't heal your fears or traumas. Don't try to become a better person. Just leave everything to Jesus and he'll save you, right? This is the thought process that that Christians have, or most of them, I should say. This means that all of us become the Christ. And when we do that, all power and authority is granted unto us through the mighty I am presence, which is why Christ's most powerful words were spoken through the I am. He would say things like, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the resurrection and the life. So by speaking through the I am, he was communicating through his God self, which each and all of us can do once we're committed to mastering our thoughts and feelings, right? Now, if people want to understand a little bit more about the I am, there are a set of books that I would recommend people read. And they were written by Godfrey Ray King. The first one is called Unveiled Mysteries. The next one is called The Magic Presence. And the third one is called The I Am Discourse. And these were channeled from Saint Germain, who is the guardian of the violet flame. And the violet flame is the flame that is the color of the crown chakra, and that's the portal that connects us to source and to the entire universe, right? And I would argue that basically Christ is in all of us. We all become the Christ. And to prove why I made that statement, we're gonna talk about something called the high priestly prayer, which is in the book of John. And for people to actually understand Christ, what his words were, his mission, what he believed in.
Do you believe there was a gentleman do you believe that there was a Christ figure?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I believe there were several Christs. I believe that characters like Buddha would have been a Christ because basically he ascended.
You don't believe there was one entity above all what we would say star seeds?
Well, the thing is, star seeds, I would argue that the character Yehoshua was a star seed. I would argue that because all that happened is that he showed humans how to reach their full divinity, right? Because there's a very interesting book called The Life and the Teaching of the Masters of the Far East. This book was collated between 1890 and the 1920s. I think it was 1923.
What's the book called?
The Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East. It's an extremely long book, but very, very good. So the story is that about 30 mainstream scientists from the United States went to the Far East in the Himalayas, in Tibet, in China and India, and they followed around these masters for over 30 years. And this book was written based on their observations. And one of the actual scientists, he illuminated while he was there. And there's a very interesting story in the book. For those that read the book, will know the story very well. So long story short, they were going to travel from one city to the next. And when they came to cross a river, the river was at high tide. So they couldn't cross because the stuff that they had the water was high tide, so they wouldn't be able to cross. So the masters, instead of trying to cross the river, obviously because you would lose all your stuff, and the scientists were saying, well, we just have to walk a few miles down and then cross at a lower point. The masters were like, no, let's just cross. And they're like, how do you mean? So the master was like, come, follow us. And the masters started to walk on water, literally. And like I said, this is a actual stuff that was recorded by mainstream scientists in the Far East. And the master said, come. And the scientists like, no, we will walk up the road. And one of them, he said, okay. And he just believed. and he walked on water and he crossed the river, right? Another situation in that same book, they were going for dinner, and when they opened the door, the room was pitch black. And one of the masters, every step that he made, it became lighter and lighter and lighter until when they got into the room, the light just like the darkness just disappeared and it just became light. There were no actual light sources in the room. It just was there. And then in the blink of an eye, like that, a table appeared. Then all the cutlery, all the food, all the drink. Then all of a sudden, they just heard an orchestra playing in the background. And the food that they ate was what they described was heavenly food. And there was this like liquid that looked like milk, but tasted like honey. And they said it tasted like no other beverage they've ever tasted. And it replenished them in a way that they never felt. And as soon as they were finished eating, the plates disappeared and the dessert appeared, right? All of these are things that we can do. So one of the things that the scientists asked the masters, why don't they make themselves more visible to Earth, to humans? And they said, well, basically because humans don't want to do the work on themselves. They want us to keep doing all the work. And we are only trying to show them what is possible. But because humans are so lazy, what they're saying, that they just want someone to save them instead of realizing that humans save themselves and they become the Christ, right? And they're able to do these things. Because he's saying that basically they don't want to change. And this is very common now. Because if you think about it, as I was saying, look at all of religion. You have this concept of a Messiah or the Mahdi. This person or character is going to come back and save them, save humanity. Look at government. Look at the idea of government. We go and we cast our vote thinking that this person that is going to become prime minister or president or chancellor is going to save us and to make things better, not realizing that what we're doing is we're relegating our power to them. And what do people do when you give them their power? They take advantage of you and they oppress you and they make you slaves, whether that's a physical slave, a mental slave, an emotional slave, or a spiritual slave. You understand? So this is why I say that we are greater than we think we are, and that the power of the universe is inside of us. So getting back to what I was saying about the Christ, and to explain my point where I say that all of us are really, we become the Christ, and Christ is in us. We are one with it, and we're also one with Source. So I'm going to go to the book of John, chapter 17, verse 17. John chapter 7, John verse 17 to 23, right? And I'm going to explain it. I'm going to read a little bit before the main point so you can get context, because in order to understand something, you have to have a bit of context before and after. So it says, sanctify them in truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, so have I sent them in the world. And for their sake, I consecrate myself so that they may also be sanctified in truth. I do not ask for these only, but also for those who believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me, and I am in you, that they may also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The glory that you've given to me, I have given to them, that they may be one, even as we are one, I in them, you in me, that they may be perfectly one, so that the world may know that you've sent me and love them even as you love me. So Christ said it 3 times. He's in us, we are in the Father, and the Father's in us, right? So it means that we are all one with Source, right? And in reality, when the word he's using there is Father is really Father, Mother, because the reason why that you don't have Father, Mother is that the Jews and the Hebrews, they're more respected male figures. So having a feminine connotation to it in their minds would belittle the power of the energy, right, of the creator of all things. But in fact, source, which I think is one of the best words to use instead of God, because God is kind of limiting, is both male and female, is masculine and feminine energy, because you can't have the egg without the chicken, and you can't have the chicken without the egg. This is why Christ was saying that he's the Alpha and the Omega, but he was speaking through his God self, because you have to have an end to have a beginning, and a beginning has to have an end. So you have to have the chicken and the egg. You have to have the male and the female. You can have as fertile land as possible, but without the seed, you can't plant a tree. You can have a seed, but you have no fertile land, that seed won't ever grow into a tree. So both have to exist at the same time, which is why source is both male and female. Just like we both are both male and female. We have positive energy inside of us, and we have negative energy inside of us. We have masculine energy inside of us and feminine energy at the same time in us. Carl Jung describes it as the Amena and the Amenus. So the Amena is the feminine element in a male, and the Amenus is the masculine element in the female. And in order to become the Christ, you're able to balance those two energies at the same time. So sometimes you may need to have order, logic, structure. It must be black and white. And then other times you've got your intuition, your gut feeling. You know, you can't, it doesn't make sense, but there's something inside of you that's telling you, you know what, just do that thing. And then it works so fine in the end. And, you know, you're like, well, I'm so good, so happy that I did that. And I give an example of something so simple that is what intuition is. So this morning, I heard the truck come around because they sell these big 10-gallon liters of water, right? And it was not the truck that I normally buy from, because they have different brands. So you have to pay more money to get the refill the water in the big bottle. And something said to me, just pay a little bit extra. I mean, it's a few cents, it's nothing major, and get your water refilled. Because if when you go to talk to Sam today, then you hear the truck, you're not going to have water for the weekend. Something just said to me, do that. And I listened. And guess what happened? Just as I was about to come on here to talk to you, the truck passed. And I just smiled and I said, that is just how the intuition works. I had no physical evidence to prove that the truck was going to come at that time. But my intuition, which is the feminine part of me, said, do that. And I observed, I listened, and I did it. And now look, I'm here talking to you. I was on time for the call, and I was able to still get water. So my point is that there's a lot of things that may not necessarily make sense, and there are things that you have to use both minds for. The masculine mind, which is about black and white, order, structure, logic, and then there are other things that you have to use the feminine way of thinking, which is intuition, feeling, you know what I mean? Going with your gut feeling, you know what I mean? And just like seeing certain signs that would like just say, well, do this, do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes.
So the master of mastery is basically what we're here to do is to master ourselves, right?
I totally understand what you're saying. It's very much resonating with me. I'm very interested in hearing what the reaction to a lot of the stuff you are saying is, because I'm not. I've thought a lot of the thoughts you've said, and I find it interesting. It's very interesting.
The thing is, right, is that I find that right now it appears that people seem to be ready to hear this type of information, and there always will be people that will push back against the things that I say, and I have no problem with people disagreeing with me. But what I would say to people is that there's a parable that Christ talks about. He says, you can't put new wine into old wineskins. And upon discovering and finding out the things that I spoke about today, I was very, very skeptical myself. In fact, I didn't really believe any of it. I thought it was all BS. But as the more I investigated and the more that I dug and the more experiences I had. And as I started to go down a spiritual path with things like ayahuasca, bufo, magic mushrooms, peyote, I started to realize that a lot of things can't really be explained. I have 100% concrete evidence. They're just things that you just know, right? And Christ always talks about knowing. And he says that you will know something is truth because you will know it's true. And that knowing is a frequency and a vibration. It's a resonance that that occurs inside of you. Just like if someone is blatantly telling you straight up lies, and you can be like, that doesn't sound right. That sounds a bit fishy. And it's because what they're saying has a certain frequency and a certain energy and a certain vibration. And you can tell when someone is being genuine. You can tell when someone is speaking what they believe to their best ability. And I do my best to represent that all the things that I say are things that I know, I understand. And can I be wrong? Yes, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, then I would say, well, look, I got that thing wrong. Because the problem that we have in the world is that if someone says something that says 98% correct, and there's one thing that they say that is not correct, or that guy Sam, that guy Johnny, that guy Chad, he's full of BS. You can't believe anything he says. But you got something wrong. But what about all the other things that you got right? And we have this real polarity sort of complex, which is why politics works so well. It polar divides us. We have in England, conservative versus Labour. United States, Democrat versus Republican. Right versus left, right? So we have these two extremes. And what I try to do is I try to come in the middle and try to bridge the gaps between both sides and say, look, hey guys, this is how it looks to me. And I think that, like Christ says, we need to take the narrow path. Buddha says we take the middle way. And this is why is the inspiration for my logo for my my podcast, which is, the Kadusha sign, which is the staff of Hermes going through, and the wings at the top for the illumination, because I'm trying to go through the middle path in order to illuminate to the top, right? To understand, to connect into source. So I think that people will receive the information positively. Obviously, there'll be some that will vehemently disagree.
I'm interested. I'm interested to let us know in the comment section. What do you think, dude? Todd, this was a great episode, man. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm very impressed with how good your internet is. That you're in Mexico and your internet is crushing, and we're in LA and we had weird moments there. But I just want to say thank you so much, dude. That was a really great episode. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
Well, you can find me. But before I say that, I just want to say thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to you.
Anytime.
And if the conversation that I had today with Sam resonated with you, you can find me at Adriano_246, or you can find me on Facebook, Todd Cave. And as I said earlier in the conversation, I'm an online fitness trainer, and I help spiritually inclined people burn fat and build muscle. So if you are interested in getting into the best shape of your life, you would like to level up your mindset, understand things of a higher level of consciousness, and also try to level up your life in general, my take is that you start through the body. You get the body in shape, and everything else will fall into place, because in order to get in shape, you have to change your mindset. When you change your mindset, that mindset transfers into other areas of your life, whether it may be business, relationships, belief into yourself. So getting into shape is much more mental than it is actual physical, because your mindset is what will determine if you're going to cheat on your diet, or you're going to go to bed on time, or you're going to go to the gym and exercise and stuff. And also, I have my own show. It's called The Conscious Man 7. You can find me on Spreaker. And we have conversations just like this. We talk about these kind of topics. And yes, also, as you can see on the logo on my shirt here, which is for my podcast, I help people connect with some magic mushrooms. So if you're interested in embarking on a spiritual journey and you want to, overcome some fears and traumas and to connect with your higher self and stuff, again, hit me up on my Instagram at Adriana_246 or my name, Todd Cave, on Facebook. And I'll help you to get some magic mushrooms. And then also, lastly, if you like the shirt that I'm wearing and you want to help support my podcast and help us to get better equipment and better cameras and mics, and so we can start to do some walk and talks and have better guests on, you can support the merch store, which is on Amazon, Todd and Me. And help support the podcast and check out, Sam's work as well, because he has some great talks, some great guests. And, help support independent creators that are asking questions. We don't know everything, but we're giving the information to the best of our ability. And, just be mindful that we can get things wrong. And the best of men are the ones that say, hey, I got that wrong. And that's what I try to do. So, at Adriana_246, or my name, Todd Cave, and The Conscious Man 7 on Spreaker. And stay tuned to my podcast because we have some really interesting guests coming. And the shaman that I interviewed last week was the shaman that I did the ayahuasca retreat with this weekend. That will be out on my platform this weekend, 13th to 14th of September.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. Hope you guys enjoy this conversation. We like to have everybody on to say from all different angles. Hope you guys appreciate it. Now let's break down this episode. All right, what did you guys think?
Anunnaki, flat Earth. We went deep.
Oh yeah, that flat Earth part. I don't remember that, but that's okay. But he did go deep on Anunnaki and all that stuff.
What did you think about the end? Actually, I was just curious about your thoughts about the.
Yeah, it definitely was going one way, then it cut to the other way. What'd you think?
I think it's Hitler's fault. I think we got to blame Hitler for that one.
Everything goes back to Hitler at that point. At that point, it just goes back to Hitler every time.
Yeah.
It's interesting, guy. Oh, man. Listen, this is an interesting episode always.
Not easy.
It's not easy because, as you know, me and Johnny are Christians. I don't know what Xavier
Catholic.
is. Xavier's in it. Listen, I just want to get laid mode, so he's kind of open-minded to all of it.
He's whatever his latest girlfriend.
No, he's like whatever doesn't make him feel bad about what he's doing. That's his religion, right? You're like, dude, cocaine, begging strangers. That's okay.
You're right. I just have to go in the little room, confess, and I'm good to go. That's the best one.
So I get it. It's not easy, and I am very, 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 very conscious of you, the listener. You guys get pressed all the time on your religions. I get that. And that's why I'm very conscious of it. And that's why, we really didn't have discussion until much later into the episode. As you know, me and Johnny, big Jesus guys. And at least the guy said,
big, huge Jesus.
We're the biggest Jesus guys out there. We're so big. Dude, I'm so big. I'm like Jesus' best friend. That's how big I am. Okay. And, he said Jesus existed. At least he said that, so I get pressed all the time. Why'd you have this guy on to tell you about? I go, because I just you can go on, you hear that everywhere all the time.
But do you remember when we didn't have people that were Christian and people would tell us, why don't you have Christian on and let us get a little bit up? Yeah. So
you just can't please everybody. But just
also in the next episode, it would have been the last episode. Yeah, the last episode. Is kind of a refutation to this also, I would say. I mean, to the end of it.
Yeah.
It's balanced.
We had Brandon Kroll on. He's super religious. Then we have, so it's just, it's definitely a crazy ass thing, dude. It's definitely a crazy ass thing. And, so we have Brandon Kroll on one, and then we just had, fuck.
Yeah. If you're not, if it's something that offends you, just know that the next episode will be different. So hang with us. Don't take it personally because nobody's here to, it's not. This is not about you. Like we're trying to target. Like me and Sam both probably don't agree with what he said at the end. But
yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not that I don't have it. Todd Cave. Sorry, guys. I love Todd. I think Todd is really
Great
good.
guy, yeah, and he
Really
presented
good
his
stuff.
information. He presented
Yeah,
the best
Todd was
version
good.
of that argument. I think.
Yeah, and it's just like I can't just book people I agree with. I mean, I know there's shows that do that, Alex Jones and all that stuff. No, he has people he doesn't
Yeah,
always agree
he'll
with.
challenge him.
Yeah,
Stuff,
I just got to put it out there because tinfoil has for the people, and they're allowed to hear everything. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. If Sam wanted to treat listeners like children and just present them things that
They want to hear.
their delicate sensibilities won't be offended by,
that's
he
what,
could do that. But
That's what MSNBC's for,
Yeah.
and that's what Fox News is for. And this show's about hearing all sides of the argument so you can find a piece of the puzzle, and put it together.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. And just know, I personally don't enjoy having that conversation.
it's uncomfortable.
It's not for me, but it needs to be done. We need to give all sides to it.
It's also a good way to sharpen your own.
I love
thoughts.
Jesus. He's my Lord and Savior.
There's a verse in the Bible like about vain incantations, just saying shit to say it. You know.
Oh,
Be careful.
Johnny, shut up. I'm trying to connect. Okay? Please stop.
It's almost become like a
Dude.
tick, like a verbal tick with
Johnny
you, like Tourette's.
killed.
Like,
Johnny
love you,
killed.
Jesus.
Johnny killed.
Dude, he's
That
gone.
was the Lord that did that.
Johnny killed.
Kawhi Leonard was
Kawhi's
taken out by
killed
the Lord.
Kawhi, bro.
That was the other episode, though.
All right, guys, if you go to SamTripoli.com, again, all my dates, you'll see them there. Skankfest is like right around the corner. Can't wait. Gives me hope in comedy again. Then I'm going to be at the Murder Circus live in Louisville.
The Murder Circus?
Yeah, the Murder Circus.
That's amazing.
10th through the 11th of October.
Is that an event or a venue?
It's a venue.
Oh, wow. Murder Circus.
Yeah, and then I'm going to be in Tampa Bay. Then I'm going to be at Cancun, Mexico, bro, for Jiu-Jitsu overdose. I'll be a white belt hanging out with a bunch of black belts, just talking the sweet science of Jiu-Jitsu.
And I know you're doing stand-up, but are you going to participate in any of the tournaments? Are you taking classes?
Yeah, I'm going to be the guy they just murk for an easy win.
Well,
I wish you would join that tournament. You might die.
I'm going to join combat Jiu-Jitsu and just get palm
Like she's
face.
trying to get you killed.
No,
out
but
there.
isn't there like white? I'm sure there's a white, like during the week. I'm sure there's like little
he's not a
tournaments.
white belt. He's a shite belt. Is what he
Shite
would just
belt.
get his ass-
Sometimes,
just
dude.
put up his ass.
If you go to SamTripoli.com, you'll get all of my audio, all of my video. You'll get my premium content. You get more premium content on Sam Tripoli than anywhere else by anybody else. I'm putting up 4 episodes a week. I'm going to put up one tonight. Plus, I'm going to add another one later tonight. We'll get into all that. Then if you go to patreon.com/cashdaddies, great way to make money in the markets. Howie Dewey is fire. Go back. We also have Comedy Chaos Twins. New episodes get made, and we're working on the animation, I promise you.
Can't wait.
Gold and silver. Bang. We just talked about it. Again, join them. Get press mail sent to you in this fiat currency bozo world we live in. Press mail is a great way to counter that. Rife Technologies for when you want to get right. Hydrogen brown gas for when you want to get your hydrogen in you so you age slower, according to them. That's what they say. Harley Rays. We love their website. Harley Ray. Just use promo code SWARM15. Get 15% off. Chemical-free body. It is the supplements I use every day, all the time. Every day, all the time. If you want to get in shape, Joel Staley is a great way to get in shape and rock it out. EMF rocks. Fight that dirty electricity. Great way to do it. Tinfoil hat, EMF rocks. Prometheus, they made my website. They can work with you on your design. Be decentralized. All my videos, decentralized. They figured it out. It was so hard to have content on your website because you're going to pay a ton. Not anymore. Decentralized. And then Brain Supreme. Great way. If you loved Xavier today in this episode, you're going to love Brain Supreme. He just sat there and took it all in, and he just asked the right questions from Xavier. Best day. I've never seen Xavier bat 1,000 on his questions, ever. So go to Brain Supreme, use the promo code SamTrip15. Nuke Social, people are jumping on it. It's a great way to talk to other people. If you're looking listen, here's the thing. Twitter's great, but it's very toxic at the same time. Hang out with the Swarm on Nuke Social. That's where all the nukers go, okay? Are you a nuker? Okay, go there. The only conspiracy telegram. Join the Zero Telegram. Go down. And then, of course, all the audio and all the video. Anything else, guys?
Go check out Broken Simulation. They talked about me for like 10, 15 minutes. 20 people sent it to me. They're like, dude, they're roasting you hard. It was a good roast. Mad love. I love you guys. That was a good time. Go check out Broken Sim.
That was funny. At Johnny Woodard on Twitter. Please talk to me. I'm so sad.
Enjoy the highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim. Do you think, honestly, they wanted this? Like, if they could have chosen for Dick Cheney not to endorse him, they would have.
I said this. Kamala Harris. She's this weird hybrid between a windsock that goes with whichever way the air blows, the wind blows, and a cum sock. So she's like this weird cum sock windsock of just an empty vessel that you deposit in.
Which is the last thing you want because there's cum flying everywhere.
Yeah, there's cum. I mean, dude, terrible. Just flapping in the wind.
Ugh. Hope you're not downwind of the cum.
Oh, there's just cum flying everywhere.
It's disgusting.
Right? Like, she's a cum wind sock. She's a wind cum sock. Is it a cum wind sock or a wind cum sock?
I think it's a wind cum sock. Yeah.
I think it's a wind cum sock too. Yeah. Get in the comments.
Yeah. Please. What is that? We said XG does on the Instagram. It's like, hey, tell us what you think. I don't know. So we had some discussion during the Super Bowl about Ice Spice doing these little Satan hand signs, and you were like, no, I don't think she is. Well, recently she was videoed. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Videoed saying a prayer, and looks like a green room with a group of gentlemen. And watch what she does here. This is interesting.
Help us enjoy this night, and Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Watch her. Look at that. Does the little devil horns thing right after saying in Jesus' name, amen. You got her doing the little devil horns. Doing it again.
I mean, dude, that's
weird, right?
No, because
you don't think
she can't sing. So that's why, yeah. I mean, why is Ice Spice famous? Satan.
Okay. So you think, but I remember the Super Bowl thing. You were like, no, that's not what she's doing. She's.
Run it again. Not this one, the Super Bowl one.
Okay. Well, they're gonna show it here at the end, but yeah. Let's see. They show a picture of it. They don't. Let me see. I'll show you the video. Oh, this guy's saying the truth behind it. I don't know.
She's garbage, bro, and she can't sell tickets, I guess now.
She is not ugly, though. I'll say that.
No, she's not like, dude. She's an attractive Downs.
She's a dilf.
She's a dilf.
She's a downside.
Dilf of the week.
Yeah, you should. That's XG's block right there. You're on XG's block saying that.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely weird. Okay, yeah, upside down cross. She's definitely weird with her weird kind of hands.
Yeah, and she's not doing the full-blown, like, devil horns thing. She's kind of doing, like, a wolf kind of like this, you know, which is, I don't know if that means something.
She can get away with it, so it's, like, enough so people don't know what she's saying.
I don't, yeah, maybe it just means something else.
She's a wolf in sheep's clothing. She's a wolf in retard clothing.
So, Oasis, the big news, they're back.
Johnny,
after
congratulations.
Years. They're back, yes, and I...
you and Steve Byrne, the two biggest Oasis fans.
Well, I was... you know, I had problems with Ticketmaster last year, or no, 2 years ago, where I bought tickets to Almost Acoustic Christmas. The headliner, Yeahs, dropped out. I paid the dynamic ticket pricing, Ticketmaster, which is this thing where they just jack up the price when a lot of people want tickets. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
And that becomes face value. So then when Social Distortion, a band that nobody outside of Southern California gives a shit about really, replaces the Yeahs, completely different band, by the way, the ticket prices plummet, the demand plummets. But Ticketmaster won't let you resell your tickets for anything less than what you paid for them, which was that dynamic price. While in the same row, they're selling tickets for a quarter of the price.
Yeah,
they get rid of it.
It's total bullshit.
So Oasis had tickets on sale, and they claimed they didn't know dynamic pricing was going to be used. And we're talking things were like $1,000. They were crazy, these tickets. And these are guys who are supposed to be working class, you know, representatives of like, you know, what would you say, like lower middle class Manchester.
Yeah.
People were infuriated.
Ugly.
I got in there. It went on sale at 9 a.m. in UK time. So I was up at like midnight. I was online for 6 hours. And finally, at 6 a.m., I got into Ticketmaster line. They were like, when I started, there were 100,000 people in line ahead of me. That's what it literally tells you how many people are in line ahead of you. And I finally got in, and they kind of roll the tickets out slowly, and I got tickets, thankfully. And I didn't have to pay the dynamic price. I got lucky. I got the floor like on the ground, so I'll be in that mad mosh.
Nice, Johnny. Are you moshing?
No, I think people are. I think you'll be surprised how little moshing there is because it's all like 40-year-olds and at most 30-year-olds going to see him. But I'm stoked. I couldn't be happier. They did add some dates as a way of apologizing for the dynamic pricing fiasco. Now, their tour was leaked ahead of time, and it seems like the dates matched up. So it sounds like they're playing the Rose Bowl in L.A. That's 100,000 people, bro. That's going to be crazy, dude.
Do you think they'll sell it out?
Absolutely, they will. Yeah, which is, I mean...
What do you think? They're just going to be like, you stay on your side of the stage, I'll stay on my side of the stage?
Yeah, I can't believe they got together for that photo shoot. I thought for sure that photo shoot was Photoshopped, the two of them, but actually, I've seen the video, and they were together in the room.
Money does that, dude.
Yeah, it's what it sounds like. Anyway, so I'm stoked about that. Let's see. I just want to talk to you about this briefly. I won't even show any of it. If you want to see it, go to YouTube. Have you watched any of these GoPros on these soldiers, these Americans fighting in Ukraine? Like this one guy has his own YouTube channel. And it's just him with his little GoPro going around, and he's using these drones to do reconnaissance for them dropping bombs down on Russians.
These Russian drones?
Yeah, well, no, it's Ukrainian drones, but it's just like a DJI Mavic that you buy at the Best Buy.
It's so scary, dude.
And these guys are just Americans over there, and there's no organization to this shit at all. This war over there, dude. It'll just be like 6 guys staying in a hole in the ground, and even the guy is like, dude, I don't know what we're supposed to be doing, like where the bad guys are. It's really, dude. It's strange, man.
It's such a shit show.
It seems like I'm really starting to think maybe it's like a facade or something. I don't know.
It's just a way to run up the bill.
Maybe so, man. So I have a little conspiracy here. I saw 2 stories this week that reminded me of things you're talking about all the time about how they're trying to make the family seem unappealing. There's one story, this was from Politico, and this was everywhere. I don't know why, but it was everywhere. It says parents can't function because they're so stressed, the Surgeon General warned. So you had this...
If you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, subscribe to Broken Simulation in your podcasting app or check us out at youtube.com/SamTripoli.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.